All right, here we are. It's Friday, 9/22. Going to continue with our notes about terrestrial biomes. What does the word terrestrial mean? I hope you know this. It was just on the quiz that we took. Victoria. Having to do with land, our land biomes. We finished the aquatic biomes, lakes, rivers, streams, ponds, all the freshwater stuff. We talked about the oceans, the saltwater things, the marine biome, and we talked about the brackish water and the estuary. Most of us remembered brackish water in the estuary, even though I told you it was going to be on the quiz. Goodness gracious. Terrestrial. When we started, we talked about grasslands. The main form of plant life in grasslands is what? Finley. Grass. Not a hard question. You shouldn't miss that one. There are two distinct grasslands that we will look at. The prairies in North America, where we live, and it's like right in the middle of America. It's like the bread baskets where we grow all of our wheat and grains and stuff. And then you have the savanna in places like Africa. Different animals, still mainly grass. The grasslands in America, the prairies, have very, very hot summers and pretty brutal winters, to be honest with you, where it snows quite a bit in those places. We know that grasses are the main plant life. The soil is very good for growing things. It's not fantastic for trees because there's just not quite enough rain to support lots and lots of trees like you would see in a temperate rainforest, a tropical rainforest, or a deciduous forest. Are there trees there? Yes, absolutely. We talked about grassland animals and the adaptations you need to live in the grasslands. Because there's not a lot of cover like trees and things, you have to have adaptations. It could be camouflage. It could be the fact that you live underground like the prairie dogs, or you could be very fast like a deer. But they all have adaptations. The grass is a very special adaptation as well. Whether it's fires or animals eating it all the way to the ground, what is the adaptation that grass has that allows it to continue to live? It grows back pretty easily. And if you ever mowed a yard, you know that one. Trust me on that. I'll be mowing this weekend. Yay. Although it's supposed to rain on Saturday, so maybe I won't. I probably need to do that today when I get home. Not watching that video again, not looking at that. We've already watched these things. Here's the grassland anchor chart notes. We've already gone over this before. It's just a quick review before we get into today's notes. We went over the savanna. The savanna has different animals where you would have like bison or buffalo and prairie dogs, badgers, a fox in North America. In Africa, in the grasslands of the savanna, you're going to have very, very different animals: lions, zebras, elephants, gazelles. The savanna has two very distinct seasons as well. They have a very, very dry season when they're not getting a lot of rain, and that would be during the winter times. And they have a very, very wet summer where it rains a lot. Animals might need to migrate in order to make it during the dry season. They have to go somewhere there is an access to water, which is important. Again, we talked about the plant life in the savanna. We did talk about a very special tree in the savanna that has pretty unique adaptations, the acacia tree. It has long thorns. It's able to change the flavor of its leaves somehow when giraffes start eating too many, and we went over that yesterday. So moving on past the savanna, yesterday we talked about the tundra. The tundra is the coldest of all biomes. You will see that again. It covers about 1/5 of the land. It's pretty huge. It is a treeless plain. Because the tundra is so cold and the ground stays frozen pretty much all year round, that's called permafrost. Trees are not able to grow there because they can't put deep enough roots to put up with the lack of water and the high winds that you often have in the tundra. The tundra is like the North Pole. It's the Arctic. It's very, very cold. It's very brutal. It's very hard to survive there. If you're going to live there, you have to have very special adaptations. You could not be a black rabbit and live in the tundra. Everything is going to see you very quickly because of all the snow. They're going to catch you and eat you, and you would go extinct very quickly. That's why many of the animals there have camouflage. Their fur color is white. It keeps them kind of hidden from other things. Again, not only is the tundra one of the coldest, if not it is the coldest, it's also the second driest. It's just behind the desert. It does not get a lot of rain. That would be another thing that animals and plants have to adapt to, is the very, very small amounts of rain that we have when we go through these different things. Not a lot of organisms alive. Not a lot of organisms alive in the tundra because it's too difficult for them to live without any water and the extreme cold. -50 is pretty brutal for just about anything. We talked about the animals. We talked about the Arctic bumblebee yesterday. We moved into the taiga. Did we get through the taiga yesterday? I feel like we got through the taiga yesterday. The taiga is also called the coniferous forest. The coniferous forest. That's important because in the taiga, there are lots of coniferous trees, cone-bearing trees, pine trees, spruce trees, and fir trees when you're in the taiga. If you're going to live in the taiga, you need to be able to survive long, very, very long cold winters and very short, mild, wet summers. You're not going to have a lot of time where it's like beautiful outside like it is today. The taiga is pretty brutal. It is just below the tundra. It's going to have very similar features that the tundra does. Is it going to be as cold? No, but it's going to be pretty cold. It's going to have that same odd amounts of sunlight, very, very short days sometimes because of the tilt of the earth. We talked about the adaptations of the plants. We went through the things about being cone-bearing trees. We watched the video about that. We talked about the animal adaptations in the taiga, and that brought us to the tropical rainforest. The tropical rainforest. This is home to half of the Earth's plants and animals. Obviously, there are lots and lots of plants in the tropical rainforest. That's very important to know. One thing about the tropical rainforest that you might see over here on the notes that we took in here today, down at the bottom, it is warm all year long at the tropical rainforest. Why is it warm all year long at the tropical rainforest? Because it's near the equator. Do you think that I wrote that on the notes? Yes, I wrote warm all year long, and I wrote that the tropical rainforest is near the equator. Now, listening to just the name, what do you think it does a lot of in the tropical rainforest? It rains a lot. It rains a lot in the tropical rainforest. Matter of fact, I think, is it 200 or 400? Can get up to 400 inches of rain in a year. That's a lot of rain, y'all. It's pretty much raining all the time, every day, all day long, because that's the way the tropical rainforest functions. It is raining all the time. If you're going to live in the tropical rainforest sky, you have to adapt to the large amounts of rain. You have to adapt to the fact that it's hot all the time. And most likely, if you're an animal, especially prey, you're going to try to live in the trees as much as possible. You need to get away from all the predators. You need to get away from all the predators. Again, tropical rainforest, warm all year round because you're near the equator. Lots of rain. It has great soil, so now I'm talking about the abiotic factors. Lots of rain, water, soil. Sunlight is intense because you're at the equator. So I've covered the sun, the soil, the temperature, and the water of the tropical rainforest. Adaptations. You have to adapt to the heat. You have to adapt to the rain. Lots of animals in the tropical rainforest will live in the trees. Lots of animals in the tropical rainforest are going to live in the trees in order to survive. I'm sure people at home that are listening to this, like, why does he sound like he's far away sometimes? Because I'm moving over to the anchor chart and then back over here every now and then. So feel good about tropical rainforest so far? All right. Being near the equator, you do stay warm all year long, and they have very, very high humidity. You guys know those days when we walk outside and you sweat just standing there? It's like that every day in the rainforest. I would not like that very much. I would love to visit the Amazon one day, but then I would like to come back from the Amazon because it doesn't sound very intriguing to me to be that hot. There are plants that have to adapt, and what these plants do is they move up. Remember, there's the canopy in the tropical rainforest, and the floor of the tropical rainforest, Jonathan, stays dark a lot because of the canopy. It's very, very dark on the floor of the rainforest. A lot of these, like the epiphytes and other things, have to grow up vines to the tops of the trees so that they can get sunlight and go through the process of photosynthesis. Very important for the plants to adapt and do that. There's an epiphyte that's grown to the very top of another tree to live. In order to survive, it does that. Again, rainforests are home to half the plants and animals on Earth. You have to be very adapted to live here. There's lots of birds and other tree-dwelling animals in the rainforest. Some of them never leave the trees because all their food sources and all their shelter is right there inside of the trees. They don't have to go anywhere else to do that. Birds and trees have a very symbiotic relationship. Remember symbiosis? They have a very, very good symbiotic. It's very mutualistic. This mutualistic relationship happens because the trees give birds food. They give them home and shelter. The birds, in exchange, while they're eating the seeds and the berries and stuff off of these trees, also out the back side of them, fire out those seeds. They land on the ground, and more trees grow. So they help the forest continue to grow through their droppings. I know that sounds gross, but it's just the way it is. Monkeys live there. One of their adaptations is they have a prehensile tail. That is a tail that allows you to curl around branches, and it allows you to give you a balance while you're up in the trees because they need that in order to survive. In the tropical rainforest, you're going to find probably the highest concentration of insects. I mean, it's a rainforest and it's humid, so you know there's mosquitoes there. There's the stick insects like the one you see in the background here. You're going to find some really brutal ants. Some of them, when they sting you, like it'll knock a grown man down for a long, long time because they have that much power packed in their stings. It's pretty amazing to see that happen. That moves us into the temperate rainforest. You'll notice on our notes over there, I just got into the temperate rainforest, but then we had to stop because it was time for us to play review games and it was time for us to rotate. It says temperate rainforest. Is it tropical here? No, it is temperate, meaning that the temperatures, I think it's on the next slide, maybe. Let me pull it over here so we can talk about that. Temperate rainforests are cooler than tropical rainforests, but they are mild. Is it freezing cold? No, because it's a rainforest. It would be called the snow forest if it was snowing all the time. It is mild. It's not nearly as hot as it is in a tropical rainforest. Temperate rainforests are found in only 6 to 7% of Earth's surface. So there's not a lot of temperate rainforests around. Inside the temperate rainforest, because it does rain about 200 inches, Ava, that's like maybe half of what a tropical rainforest gets, but 200 inches a year is a lot of rain. Because there are some very unique plants that live there. And one of them is that giant, long vocabulary word that we have from this week, and it's moss. Moss is on everything in the temperate rainforest.